A young woman in a plain gray dress quietly walks into the boardroom, carrying coffee nobody asked for. The men in expensive suits don't even look at her. Maya Jones, just a temp with a tiny apartment and big dreams. But when the million-dollar deal starts falling apart because nobody can understand the Dutch client on the video call, something weird happens. The fancy CFO starts sweating. The big boss looks like he might throw up. $5 million about to go down the drain. Then Maya steps forward from the corner where she's been standing invisible. "Sir," she says in a small voice. "I think I can help." The room goes dead quiet as she starts speaking perfect Dutch to the client. The men's mouths drop open. The client's angry face suddenly brightens. Within minutes, Maya saves the entire deal that these Harvard graduates couldn't handle. But why was a woman with her talents bringing coffee? When the CEO slowly turns to face her with wide eyes and asks, "Who are you?" nobody was ready for what would happen next. I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your city in the comments below. Are there overlooked talents in your workplace too? Let me know while I continue Maya's incredible story. The morning sun hit the glass towers of Chicago as Maya Jones hurried through the revolving doors of Price Global Consulting. Her bus had been late again. She balanced a tray of coffee cups while checking her phone. Late was bad, especially on big meeting days. "Morning," Maya said Joe, the security guard. He was the only one who ever said her name right. "Morning, Joe. Big day upstairs, I hear." "Always is. Good luck up there." Maya rode the elevator to the 32nd floor. The fancy office buzzed with people in expensive suits. Nobody looked at her as she walked to the break room to organize the coffee order. Maya had worked as a temp assistant for 8 months now. Before that, she'd worked in the mailroom. Before that, she'd been turned down for 3 different jobs she was perfect for. "Coffee to the main conference room." "Now," shouted Diane from HR, not even looking up from her phone. Maya carefully arranged the cups on her tray and headed to the conference room. Inside, 12 executives sat around a massive table. A huge screen on the wall showed 4 serious-looking Dutch businessmen on a video call. The room felt tense. Mr. Hoffman, the CFO, was sweating through his expensive shirt. "As I was saying about the delivery schedule," he stammered. One of the Dutch men spoke rapidly, his face getting redder. "I think there's confusion about the terms," Mr. Hoffman said nervously. "Is our translator coming?" "He canceled." "Car trouble," whispered an assistant. Maya quietly placed coffee cups around the table. Nobody thanked her. Nobody even saw her. But she heard everything. The CEO, Alan Price, looked furious. "This is a $5 million deal. We can't lose it over language issues." The Dutch client spoke again, clearly frustrated. Maya could hear the problem. They were talking about completely different shipping schedules. Maya had studied Dutch for years. Her mother had come from there. Maya had a master's degree in international business with a focus on European markets. Not that anyone here knew that. They only saw the woman who brought coffee. Without thinking, Maya stepped forward. "Sir," she said softly to Mr. Hoffman, "I believe there's a mistake in how we're explaining the shipping terms." The room went silent. All eyes turned to her. "You speak Dutch?" Mr. Price asked, amazed. Maya nodded. "May I?" she asked, gesturing to the screen. Mr. Price hesitated, then nodded. Maya turned to the screen and spoke in perfect Dutch, explaining the confusion about the delivery schedule and offering a solution that would work for both sides. The Dutch businessmen looked surprised, then relieved. They nodded and smiled. When Maya finished, the lead Dutch businessman said in English, "This makes sense now. We accept these terms." The deal was saved. $5 million, just like that. The CEO slowly turned to her, his eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" Maya stood awkwardly as everyone stared at her. "I'm Maya Jones, sir. I've been a temp here for 8 months." Mr. Price frowned. "That's not what I meant. Where did you learn to speak Dutch like that?" "My mother is from Amsterdam," Maya said quietly. "And I have a master's degree in international business from Northwestern." The executives exchanged glances. Mr. Price's eyebrows shot up. "A master's degree? And you're bringing us coffee?" After the meeting ended with handshakes and smiles, Maya was called to Mr. Price's office. It was her first time on the executive floor. The carpet was so thick her shoes sank into it. Mr. Price sat behind a desk big enough to park a car on. "Tell me about yourself, Maya." She took a deep breath. "I speak 6 languages: English, Dutch, Mandarin, Spanish, French, and German. I graduated top of my class. I've applied for 14 positions at this company over the past 2 years. 14. Mr. Price looked shocked. Maya nodded. Yes, sir. Starting with the junior international coordinator position, then market analyst, then. And HR turned you down for all of them? Yes, sir. Mr. Price pressed a button on his phone. Sarah, pull Maya Jones's application files. All of them. Now. While they waited, Maya told him about growing up in a small apartment with her mother, who cleaned hotel rooms but made sure Maya studied every night. How she'd worked 3 jobs to help pay for college. How she dreamed of working at Price Global since she was in high school. Sarah brought in a thin folder. This is all we have on her. Mr. Price opened it and frowned. This is just a temp application. Where are her other applications? Sarah looked uncomfortable. I'll check with HR, sir. After Sarah left, Mr. Price asked, why did you keep trying? After so many rejections. Maya looked out the window at the city below. My mom taught me never to give up. My degree is the first thing you see when you walk into our apartment. She dusts it every day. The phone rang. Mr. Price answered. His face darkened as he listened. I see, he said coldly. Send me everything immediately. He hung up and looked at Maya. Your applications were tagged as unsuitable. Do you know why? Maya tried to keep her voice steady. I was told I didn't have the right cultural fit. Cultural fit, Mr. Price repeated, his jaw tight. Yet you just saved a $5 million deal. He stood up. Maya, I need to look into this. In the meantime, his office door opened. Diane from HR walked in without knocking. Mr. Price, a word about the temp? Her eyes flicked dismissively over Maya. Perfect timing, Diane, Mr. Price said. I was just about to discuss Maya's future here. Mr. Price, may I speak with you privately? Diane's smile didn't reach her eyes. Whatever you have to say about Ms. Jones can be said in front of her, Mr. Price replied. Diane's smile tightened. Very well. While her assistance today was helpful, we need to follow proper protocols. Temps aren't authorized to participate in client meetings. She saved the Dutch deal, Mr. Price said. Even so, there are policies. Diane turned to Maya. You can return to your desk now. Maya stood frozen, looking between them. Actually, Mr. Price said, I'd like to discuss a different position for Ms. Jones, given her qualifications. Diane's smile disappeared completely. With all due respect, sir, making decisions based on one lucky moment isn't good business. We have candidates who've gone through proper channels. People with the right background. Maya felt her cheeks burn. She knew what Diane meant by background. It was the same reason her resume had been buried for 2 years. We'll continue this later, Mr. Price said to Diane. For now, I'd like to speak with Maya alone. Diane left, her heels clicking angrily on the floor. Mr. Price sighed. I apologize for that. Now about your future here. His phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. And again. Excuse me, he said, checking the messages. His face darkened. I need to handle an emergency. We'll continue this conversation soon. As Maya left his office, Diane was waiting in the hallway. A word of advice, Diane said, voice low. Don't get ahead of yourself. One lucky moment doesn't change who you are or where you belong. I belong in international business, Maya said. That's what my degree is in. Diane laughed. Degrees aren't everything, honey. It's about fit, culture, understanding how things work. You mean looking right and knowing the right people, Maya said before she could stop herself. Diane's eyes narrowed. You're being reassigned. Storage inventory on the 2nd floor needs organizing. Report there tomorrow morning. Maya's heart sank. Storage inventory? Even lower than her current position. This is because I spoke up in the meeting, isn't it? This is because you need to learn your place, Diane said. Mr. Price will forget about you by tomorrow. They always do. Maya spent the rest of the day in a daze. When everyone left for the evening, she stayed to clean out her desk. Her hands shook as she packed her things into a small box. On her way out, she noticed a folder marked Urgent. Singapore Logistics Contract, left on a desk. She shouldn't look. It wasn't her business anymore. But something made her pick it up. She flipped through the pages, her eyes widening. There was a major error in the numbers. A $2.8 million discrepancy that nobody had caught. Maya stood alone in the empty office, holding proof of another mistake that could cost the company millions. Tomorrow she'd be counting paper clips in the basement. What should she do? This story is just getting more intense, right? If you're enjoying Maya's journey from invisible to unstoppable, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell now. I post new inspiring stories every Tuesday and Friday. Now let's see what Maya does with that $2.8 million error she just discovered. Maya arrived early the next morning, the Singapore contract folder clutched in her hands. She'd spent half the night checking the numbers. The error was real. The storage room was dark and dusty. Maya set down her box of desk items and stared at the endless shelves she was supposed to organize. This was her punishment for speaking up. Her phone buzzed. A company-wide emergency meeting in 10 minutes. Something about the Singapore contract. Maya hesitated. She wasn't invited. She wasn't even supposed to have seen the contract. But that $2.8 million error would sink the deal. Heart pounding, Maya took the elevator to the conference floor. Through the glass walls, she could see the meeting room packed with nervous executives. On the screen, stern-faced Singapore investors waited. Maya slipped inside and stood against the back wall. No one noticed her. As you can see from our proposal, Mr. Hoffman was saying, the 5-year projected returns are exceptional. One of the Singapore investors frowned. These numbers don't align with Section 4. Mr. Hoffman flipped through his papers, looking confused. The cost basis calculation, the investor continued. It doesn't match the delivery schedule. Panic spread across the room. Executives whispered frantically, flipping through documents. Can we take a brief recess? Mr. Price asked, his voice tight. We flew 16 hours for this meeting, the lead investor replied coldly. If your team isn't prepared. Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward. The folder felt heavy in her hands. Excuse me, she said, her voice stronger than she felt. I believe I can help. All eyes turned to her. Mr. Price looked surprised. Diane, sitting near him, looked furious. Maya? What are you doing here? Mr. Price asked. Maya walked to the table and opened the folder. There's an error in the contract. The shipping costs were calculated using last year's rates, but they've increased 18% since then. She slid the corrected pages across the table. I've recalculated everything. The correct numbers are here. Mr. Hoffman snatched the pages, scanning them quickly. She's right, he muttered, astonished. Mr. Price turned to the screen. Would you give us 5 minutes, please? The investors nodded and the call was muted. How did you find this? Mr. Price demanded. I saw the folder last night, Maya admitted. I noticed the numbers didn't add up. You had no right to look at those documents. Diane snapped. This is a serious breach of... She just saved us from promising more than we can deliver, Mr. Price interrupted. We would have lost the deal and our reputation. He turned to Maya. Can you explain the corrections to our investors? Sir, she's not qualified, Diane began. She's the most qualified person in this room right now, Mr. Price said firmly. Maya, can you do it? Maya nodded, ignoring Diane's glare. When the call resumed, Maya explained the discrepancy clearly and professionally. The investors looked impressed. These new figures make more sense, the lead investor said. We appreciate the honesty and correction. When the meeting ended, the investors agreed to move forward. Another deal saved. Mr. Price stood up. Cancel the external consultant we hired for the Asia contracts. I want her handling this now. He pointed at Maya. Her? Diane spluttered. But she's just... Our new strategic liaison, Mr. Price finished. Effective immediately. Strategic liaison. The words on Maya's new business card still didn't seem real. She'd been moved to a small but actual office with a window. Her first day, she found a handwritten note from Mr. Price. Prove me right. And she did. Over the next 3 weeks, Maya handled contracts in Dutch, Spanish, and Mandarin. She caught mistakes before they happened. She knew cultural customs that impressed international clients. One Japanese CEO said she was the first American who truly understood their business traditions. Word spread. Clients started asking for the liaison who speaks our language. Revenue jumped 15%. The company newsletter featured Maya's success story, though it conveniently left out how long she'd been ignored. Not everyone was happy. Diane from HR avoided her completely. Several VPs watched her with suspicious eyes, especially Thomas Reed, who had been handling international contracts before Maya appeared. Beginner's luck, Thomas told anyone who would listen. Wait until she makes a real mistake. Maya worked twice as hard to make sure that didn't happen. She arrived first and left last. She researched each client deeply before meetings. She kept meticulous notes on every conversation. One morning she found Mr. Price waiting in her office. The German solar deal is tomorrow, he said. Thomas Reed insists on leading it. I understand, Maya said, hiding her disappointment. The German deal was huge. I didn't say I agreed with him, Mr. Price replied. I want you there too. As a backup. The next day, Maya sat quietly while Thomas presented to the German executives. His German was textbook but stiff. The clients looked increasingly uncomfortable. Maya noticed the problem immediately. Thomas was using formal language that sounded cold and impersonal to German ears. And he'd failed to acknowledge that one executive was from Bavaria, where business customs differed slightly. When Thomas finished, the lead German executive frowned. We have concerns about cultural compatibility. Maya caught Mr. Price's eye. He nodded slightly. Darf ich etwas sagen? Maya asked politely in German. May I say something? The executives perked up at her natural accent. Maya switched to warm, conversational German with just the right Bavarian acknowledgments. She explained how the contract would adapt to regional differences across Germany. The mood in the room transformed. By the end, the German team was smiling and asking personal questions about her connection to their country. After they signed the initial agreement, Thomas stormed out of the room. Maya found him waiting by the elevators. You made me look like a fool, he hissed. That wasn't my intention, Maya said. I was just trying to help. Help? Thomas laughed bitterly. You're trying to take my job. Well, guess what? I've filed a formal complaint. You violated protocol by speaking without being introduced as an official negotiator. Later that afternoon, Maya was called to Mr. Price's office. Thomas sat there looking smug. Diane from HR was taking notes. There's been an accusation of protocol breach, Mr. Price said, his face unreadable. I can explain, Maya began. No need, Mr. Price interrupted. He slid a folder across the desk. This is interesting reading. It seems Ms. Jones sent detailed reports about German regional business customs to the international team 3 months ago, with specific warnings about the Bavarian executives. Thomas's face turned red. I never saw any reports. That's the interesting part, Mr. Price said, opening another folder. They were sent to you directly. 3 times. You marked them, low priority each time. Maya remembered those reports. She'd written them during her lunch breaks and after hours, hoping someone would notice her knowledge. No one ever responded. I get hundreds of emails, Thomas stammered. From temps? Mr. Price asked. Or do you only read emails from people you consider important? Diane cleared her throat. Mr. Price, this meeting was supposed to be about Maya's protocol breach. Yes, let's talk about breaches, Mr. Price said, his voice dangerously calm. I've spent the last week reviewing our hiring practices. Do you know what I found, Diane? She shifted uncomfortably. Sir, that's not relevant to. I found that qualified candidates from certain backgrounds were consistently marked, not a good fit. I found that Maya's resume was downgraded 14 times despite her perfect qualifications. I found that we've been paying external consultants triple what we could have paid internal hires like Maya. The room fell silent. Maya could hardly breathe. Maya's original applications have been lost from our system, Mr. Price continued. Except I found copies in her personal email. And when I compared them to the candidates who were hired instead. He shook his head. We follow standard industry practices, Diane said stiffly. Cultural fit is a legitimate consideration. Is that what we're calling it? Mr. Price stood up. I've requested a full internal review of all hiring decisions for the past 5 years. Until that's complete, you and the HR leadership team are suspended, effective immediately. Diane's mouth fell open. You can't, I'm the CEO. I can. Mr. Price turned to Thomas. And you're removed from international accounts until you complete cultural sensitivity training. Maya will oversee your work. Thomas spluttered but said nothing. After they left, Maya sat stunned. Sir, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. Your work speaks for itself. Mr. Price looked tired. I built this company to be excellent. Instead, we've been turning away excellence because it didn't look like what we expected. He closed the folders. The board meets next Friday. I want you to present your findings on our international strategy and your recommendations for fixing our company culture. Me? Present to the board. You've been doing this work for years without recognition. It's time people heard what you have to say. He paused. We've wasted your talent for too long, Maya. I'm sorry for that. Maya thought about all the nights she'd worked late, all the rejections, all the coffee runs and copy jobs while her degree gathered dust on her apartment wall. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now we fix it. Not just for you, but for everyone like you who deserves a real chance. Mr. Price looked her in the eyes. You didn't just save a deal, Maya. You saved our integrity. Or at least you've given us a chance to find it again. For the first time since she'd started at Price Global, Maya felt like she could finally breathe. The boardroom looked different from the front of the table. Maya had only ever seen it from the edges while serving coffee or standing silently against the wall. Now 15 board members watched her intently as she finished her presentation. In conclusion, Maya said, clicking to her final slide, by overlooking internal talent, especially from diverse backgrounds, Price Global has been operating at an estimated 30% below its potential capacity. She paused, her heart racing. But we can change that. Today, Mr. Price stood as Maya returned to her seat. Thank you, Ms. Jones. The board will now discuss your recommendations. Maya waited outside while they deliberated. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. No matter what happens, I'm proud of you. An hour later, Mr. Price called her back in. The board members' faces gave nothing away. Ms. Jones, said Eleanor Wright, the eldest board member, your analysis was enlightening and disturbing. Maya's stomach tightened. What you've uncovered is a systemic failure, Eleanor continued. One that has cost this company millions in missed opportunities and wasted talent. Another board member nodded. The question is, how do we fix it? Mr. Price smiled for the first time that day. We already have a solution. Ms. Jones, would you like to tell them, or shall I? Maya looked confused. Tell them what? About your new position. Mr. Price turned to the board. I'm appointing Maya Jones as our new Director of International Strategy, effective immediately. The room went completely silent. This would make Ms. Jones the first woman of color in our executive ranks, Eleanor noted. Yes, Mr. Price said simply. And long overdue. Maya couldn't speak. Director? Her? All in favor? Eleanor asked. Every hand in the room went up. Word spread quickly. By afternoon, the whole company knew. Maya walked through the office in a daze, receiving congratulations from people who'd never spoken to her before. When she reached the main conference room for the announcement, she stopped short. It was packed. Not just with executives, but with assistants, mailroom staff, maintenance workers, people from every level of the company. As she entered, the room erupted in applause. First a few hands, then more until everyone was standing, clapping and cheering. Maya saw faces she recognized. Joe the security guard giving her a thumbs up. The mailroom supervisor who'd always been kind to her. The cleaning staff who'd chat with her during late nights. Mr. Price handed her the microphone. Maya hadn't prepared a speech. She looked out at the sea of faces and spoke from her heart. Thank you, she began. This moment isn't just about me. It's about every person who's ever been overlooked or underestimated. She took a deep breath. I want to thank my mother, who cleaned hotel rooms so I could go to school, who taught me that education matters, but so does kindness and perseverance. Maya looked at the cleaning staff in the back. And I want to thank the people who keep this company running behind the scenes. The ones who taught me that real work ethic isn't about titles, but about showing up every day and doing your best, even when no one is watching. Tears filled her eyes. You ignored me in the hallway. But I never stopped preparing for the room. The applause was deafening. Even people who had once looked through her were cheering now. As Maya looked out at the crowd, she made a silent promise. No one else would be invisible on her watch. 6 months passed in a whirlwind. Maya's office now had a view of the Chicago skyline, but she was rarely in it. Most days found her meeting with employees from every department, listening to their ideas and concerns. Today was special. Maya stood in the company's largest conference room, now filled with 50 people. Not executives, but maintenance workers, receptionists, mail clerks, and security guards, all wearing new badges that read, Talent Unseen Fellow. Welcome to the first day of the Talent Unseen program, Maya announced. Each of you was selected because someone in this company recognized your potential. Maya walked among them. For the next year, you'll receive training in language, culture, analytics, and leadership while continuing your regular jobs. You'll be paired with mentors from senior management. And when you graduate, you'll be first in line for advancement. She gestured to the back where Mr. Price stood with the board members. This isn't charity. This is business. The best talent can be found anywhere if we're smart enough to look. Afterward, as the new fellows networked with executives, Maya checked her emails. One caught her eye, from Lucia Ramirez, the janitor's daughter. Dear Ms. Jones, thanks to your program, I start my paid internship next week. My mom cried when I told her. She's cleaned offices here for 12 years and never thought I could work anywhere but the night shift. Now I'll be analyzing market trends for the Asian division. I have your picture on my wall. Someday I hope to create something that helps others the way you've helped me. Maya printed the email and pinned it next to her degree on her office wall. Mr. Price appeared in her doorway. The board is thrilled. The program's already boosted morale and applications are up 40%. Maya smiled. Sometimes the person who saves the company isn't wearing a suit, just carrying one quietly. Mr. Price nodded. And now everyone knows to look for them.